If you've ever looked at a desert, you've probably thought the same thing I have. That's a lot of sand. In fact, deserts cover about 1/3 of Earth's land surface. That's trillions upon trillions of grains of sand just lying there, not paying rent. And yet, if you walk into any construction site and ask the builders where their sand came from, it's almost never the desert. Instead, it's river sand, beach sand, or sand dredged up from the bottom of lakes. Which naturally makes you wonder, why don't we just scoop up all that desert sand and build skyscrapers, roads, and bridges out of it? After all, it's already sitting in enormous piles. Seems like an easy win. The short answer? Desert sand is useless for construction. The long answer? Well, buckle up. Sand is one of the most important raw materials on Earth. It's in your concrete, your glass, your asphalt, even in your phone's microchips. Without sand, human civilization collapses faster than a badly built sandcastle. And here's the twist. We're actually running out of usable sand. That's right. On a planet that looks like it has more sand than it knows what to do with, we're facing a sand shortage. Construction companies across the world are scrambling for sand, governments are restricting sand exports, and in some countries, there's even a black market for sand. Yes, people are smuggling sand across borders. Imagine an underground mafia deal, but instead of bags of cash, it's truckloads of dirt. So why not use the desert as a giant sand warehouse? The problem is the shape of the grains. River sand and beach sand are created by erosion. Rocks break down, pieces crash into each other, and water smooths the grains into chunky, rough little shapes. Those rough edges help the grains lock together like puzzle pieces. That's what makes good concrete. Desert sand, on the other hand, is formed mostly by wind erosion. Wind is a much gentler sculptor than water. Over thousands of years, it polishes each grain into a tiny sphere, round and smooth. Instead of locking together, the grains slide around like marbles on a kitchen floor. You could build a skyscraper out of desert sand if you really wanted to, but the moment you added weight, it would collapse in a glorious, sandy avalanche. But let's imagine, just for fun, that builders did try to use desert sand. Suppose you live in Dubai and decide to make a desert sand skyscraper. You pour the sand into molds, add cement, and wait. At first, it looks like a normal building. You stand back proudly and take a photo. Then the wind blows. And just like that, the walls disintegrate into dust, leaving you holding a selfie stick in the middle of a pile of rubble. Congratulations, you've just invented the world's most expensive hourglass. Of course, scientists are clever, and there are experiments underway to make desert sand usable. Some researchers are testing chemical coatings that make the grains stick together. Others suggest mixing desert sand with waste materials like fly ash or plastic to give it some grip. If these work, the deserts of the world could become the biggest construction supply depots ever. But so far, none of these methods have gone mainstream. It's simply cheaper and easier to dig up riverbeds and beaches. And this is where the story gets dark. Our appetite for sand is reshaping entire ecosystems. Rivers are being dredged, beaches are disappearing, and fish habitats are being destroyed. In India, illegal sand mining has become so profitable that criminal gangs are literally killing people over sand. Imagine explaining that in the afterlife. How did you die? Well, somebody wanted my sand. It sounds ridiculous, but it's real. If nothing changes, we may soon find ourselves in a strange situation, surrounded by endless deserts, yet unable to build because we don't have the right kind of sand. Maybe future generations will look back and laugh. They had all this sand and still ran out of it. Classic humans. So, for now, builders stick to river and beach sand, and deserts remain just deserts. Next time you look at a towering glass skyscraper, remember that it wasn't built with the sand from the desert next door. It was probably built with sand stolen from some river halfway across the planet. And if that feels like a weird, almost cartoonish reality, well, it is. Because in the great story of human civilization, the desert sand is like the quiet kid in class. Always there, never called on, and secretly holding a universe of potential that we haven't quite figured out how to use.